Hello friends and everyone, you're welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. Thank you so much for watching this video. Now, I made a video on Blazor WebAssembly custom authentication and authorization, and I did not include a refresh token. So I had a lot of requests asking me to do that. And I'm going to talk about how to include a refresh token in custom authentication and authorization in Blazor WebAssembly. So if you have idea of implementing authentication, check the timestamp. You can skip to the section of refresh token, but I suggest you watch everything. All right. Now, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. And also, you can click on the notification icon as well. So as soon as I upload new video, you also get it. Give me a thumbs up to this video if you think it's helpful to you. Check the description and I'll put the source code of this project to GitHub, so you can just check the description, get a link, click on it, and you can clone it from the GitHub and review as well. So maybe if today is the first time of watching this video, you might ask yourself, what is actually refresh token? It is simply a mechanism to authenticate user once, and the subsequent ones, the system gets itself authenticated with the help of the client browser local storage. Now, as soon as a token is created, it has lifespan, maybe 1 day, 2 days, and when that day is due, the token expires. It means that this token can be used to make a call to our API. Therefore, the user needs a new token. Now, in order for a user to log in by himself, we rather handle that with a code. So as soon as the token expires, we initiated a different call to the API with the expired token or the refresh token, and now get a new token and assign it to the header of the request, which is going to be used by a client to make a request to an API. So that is it. All right, I've made this already, so let's go through it quick. Then we start with the project. So we see from here that we have a database open. I have 3 database table, and that is going to be the registration, token info, and this is the user roles. Registration to handle all registration of user, token info to handle all refresh token, token expiry date, and the user ID related to that token. When we talk about the user role, as soon as you create an account, you have a role name and also the user ID. So you have either administrator, or we have a normal user. You can add a lot of rows too. Now with this 3 table, let's try to see if what they are going to contain when we try to register or create an account here. All right, so I'm going to launch. So there's an app here. Now you can see as soon as you launch the app and you are not authenticated, you can see we have hello guest. Now let's register an account here and I'll try to log in. So let's pass in just any name. I'm going to put Netcode-Hub. And now check here for the email address. If you start with an admin, automatically it's going to assign you as an administrator. So I'm using an admin, and admin has to register once. So let's pass in just a password over here. So click on register. And now this has been registered. You see we have this is the index over here from the database. And let's see. So when you click on login, before that, when you go to user role, right? Let's refresh it, and you're going to have administrator. So here you have role name as user, and now the user ID is 4. All right, so we have role name as user, user ID is 4. Now let's see from this registration. Let's refresh this. So you can see we have the name and the email that we provided. The token, as for the token, it is not yet generated. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do here is we are going to log in. All right, so let's go to the same app, and the login, let's provide the name, so admin, and then the password over here. So you click on login, you can see we have hello admin, we have this as the icon that you can switch to log out. Now you have info. This is going to be assigned as soon as you log in as user. Now check this. When you come to the token info, The token has been generated, and now we have a new token over here. So this is a reference token, and this is a token expiry date. All right. Now, how do you know this token is working? When we check this, let's right click and I go to inspect element. By default, this token has to expire within a minute or so. So let's go to network tab. Let me expand this. So you can see from here, we have this drop down, and if I click on this, my info, here we are getting this request or this response from the server. So you have your name and then your email sent to you. So when we click on this, you can see we have this authorization. That's the header for the bearer token. We have it set over here. Now you can see there's the last one, is a CI. That is the last token. You can see it's over here. When you go to this application, you're going to see this token. Now this token, when you copy this, we put it on a notepad and now check it to work. You see we have this is a token and we have the refresh token. So this is the refresh token too. So we have two tokens, refresh token, and we have the actual token, that's authentication token. All right. Now let's see. So let's try again and check if the time is up. I'm going to click on this again. Okay, so the time is not up. Let's wait. So I'll just pause for some time to happen. Then we're going to click on this again to check if as soon as the token expired, a fresh token can take over and make a request to generate a new token for us. All right, so let's check it now. I think some minutes have passed. So let's see. Now, if I click on this, my info, as you can see, we have this red thing here. Let's check it out. When we click on that, you can see we have 401. That is unauthorized. But as soon as we check and it is unauthorized, a new call was made. That's a get new token. And let's see. This is the O token. The O token was the CI. Now a call was made, and now to get a new token, and you can see it was OK. It was a post method and returned OK of 200 status code. And you have a new call. Now let's check the token. Now the token is here. It is PQ, right? So you can see a new token has now been generated and assigned to the header of this HTTP client. So when we make a call again, now everything works. So you can see the same token retained, and that is it. Now when we check this application, and when you grab this, let's get the notepad, and now let's paste this here. If we extract the token from it, you can see here it ends with PQ. And now this ends with, where is it? And ends with CI, right? So a new token has been created and also added to the header of this HTTP client. So let's first have a look on how to do this. So let's stop this and let's create a new project. So file, new project. And that is it. So we're going to choose a Blazor WebAssembly, and that is this standalone. So we click on that. And now the name of this project is going to be demo, and demo Blazor WASM authentication and authorization with refresh token, right? So that would be the name for this project. Okay. So when you go to GitHub, check the name up, and this is the name that I'm going to use at the GitHub. Okay, so let's click on next. And now the firmware version that we are going to use here, it is 7.0. So we click on that. You make sure we include this core hosted to have the class library, the server, and the client as well. So once you have this project created, the next thing that we're going to do here is we are going to install packages. That's the Nuget packages. And that is what we're going to use to do this. Now, this is what I'm going to do. So go to the client. We have to install packages to the client and also to the server, right? So let me expand it. Now, with this client, I'm going to right click and I'll go to unload project. Now in here where we have this package item group, I'm going to paste in this. So make sure you install these packages to the client section, local storage and authorization, HTTP features, and also you need JSON, and also this identity model.token.jwt. All right. Now the next thing to do here is let's go to the server too. And now with the server, we also have to install some packages to the server as well. Now we go back to the server. I'm going to right click on it and I'll go for unload project. And now within this item group too, I'm going to paste in this. So also pause the video and I install these packages as well. All right, now save all. And I'm going to, okay, let me do it again. Save all, solution, then right click on this project, reload with the dependencies. And I'll do the same thing to the server as well. All right, so by doing this, these packages are going to be installed. Now let's build this project to restore the packages that we have added. All right, so you can see that it is successfully built. Now the next thing that we're going to do here is we are going to create our models, and these models are going to do them in the shared project. So we go to the shared project and we're going to create a folder and I'll name it as model. So let's quickly go to that place. That's the shared. Right click on this, add the folder as models, and in that we need to create login model, registration model, and also register model. So let's quickly do that. So add new class, and now the name of this class, this login model. So in that we have this. We do same to the registration. Let's create a registration model or register model. So go to the same place. Okay, then we have register model. So the reason why we are creating this model is we're going to add one property such as, that is the confirm password. We don't want to store confirmed password in database, so we need to create that model and I'll add it. So when we want to add to database, we assign it to the register model. So we have confirmed password and we want to remove this for just checking up to see if what the user provided is what he wants. Okay. Now aside from this, let's include the component models. And now the last model that we need to create, that is a user session. And this is what we're going to use to store the token and the refresh token in the client browser local storage. So we need just two properties in here. That is the token and the refresh token. Okay. After doing this, we need to also create models to the server. And now these models are limited to the server. That is what we're going to use for the authentication. So that's why we did not put to the shared project, because you are not sharing between the client. It is for only the server. So it is limited. Now let's create a folder to the server. And then maybe we can name this as authentication. And now within this model or within this folder, we are going to create token info. So let me just add models to this. So add a class here. And it is token info. Okay, so within this class, we have this ID, user ID, the refresh token, and also the token expiry. We're going to store this. So aside from that, we also create row for that. So we also want to store this row. So as soon as user register, we have its row assigned. And we want to have row name, user ID, and now since you're going to create a database table, we need to provide this ID to it. All right. Now let's create our data folder, or that's a context class. And now you can do that in the server by creating a folder in here as data. Then let's add a new class as AppDB context. Now within that class, it has to inherit from DB context class from the entity framework call that we installed. So you can see it has been added from this EF call that we installed. And these are the tables that we need. So we need 3 tables. The first one going to handle the user basic details. Second one going to handle the token info. And the third one going to handle the row. We are not storing the JWT token here. We are storing only the refresh token. Okay, so that is what we are doing. Now the next thing that we're going to do here is let's set up a database connection string in the app-setting.json. So within the app-setting.json, you go to solution, then app-setting.json. Okay, so we have our connection string right here, and the name of the database is, let me add demo auth.db. We have there's the connection, or there's the settings that we need for the token. We need the key over here, and we can generate random keys from this site. And the key should be at least 16, okay, at least, but it could be more. So, and we have the issuer and the audience. So there's the local host, and the port is 7054. So to get your port, you go to the server and you go to properties, line settings, check for the HTTPS. So it is the same over here as 7054. So you can just grab this, and you can just go in there and now keep it. So 7054, just replace it for the issuer and now the audience. Okay. Now, once you're done with this, the next thing to do here is to register the database connection string and add the JWT Authentication in the program.cs file. Okay. So you have to go to the server program.cs file here. And now, before this app.build here, we have to register a connection string in here. That's a database connection string. So let's register that. And aside from this, you can see the name, we are getting the connection string from this app setting with the name default. So you can see when you check here, that is a default connection. Okay. And that's what we are getting. If not, you throw this exception. And we are using this SQL server. And this is a class that we created. Okay. And the next thing to do here is we have to add the authentication settings registration as well. So let's add that service. And we're adding this authentication service by adding this JWT bearer. So we validate issuer and the audience and the lifetime. So here to get the issuer, you see here, we need to get from the builder.configuration. The section name is for the JWT, and the key here is the issuer. When you check this, you see we have this over here. Okay, and now we have the thing over here. So there's the one that we want to refer to. Okay, now once you're done with this, what you need to do here is we have to add authentication and authorization middleware pipeline, and this can be added here. So down here, you add the two, check the arrangement well. Authentication first, then authorization second. Okay, so we are done with this. What we're going to do here is going to update or going to add database migration. But before that, let's build a project first. So after successfully built, this what we're going to do. Go to Package Manager console and click on the Tools, Nuget Package Manager, and I'm going to find it over there. Okay, so in here, you're going to add-migration and add a name first. So before we do this, I think we have an error here. Let's check here settings. So go to set this server as a startup project. Okay, then let's try it again and let's see. So add-migration and the name that I'm giving is first. So let's check it up. All right, so you can see it is now done. Now let's go to update database. So this is going to run this VF code. This is going to run this migration file here to create this table into a database and then create a database itself. So let's wait. All right, so this is also done. So a database is successfully created. Now you can save everything and maybe you can close all of these. Now what we're going to do here is let's create the controller. So we're going to create an API controller. So I click on the controllers folder and now in here you can see we have this weather forecast. Let's change this to authentication controller. And now when I come in here, let's remove all the method here. We don't want them. So what we're going to do here is you're going to create a FAT controller. You're supposed to create a service and whereby this service or this repository will be called in here. But since we are doing just authentication and authorization, then we can just put it in here. So let's first create a constructor and I inject our configuration and also inject our appdb context class so we can have access to the database and also the app setting.json file to get the JWT settings or the section that we added. Aside from this, we create a public endpoint. And now this public endpoint, the first one I'm going to talk about here, that's an account registration. So if I want to register an account, what am I going to do? So as you can see from here, the route is it is a post as a verb, and then the route here is register. It's coming in with a registration or register model. Now check if user email contain admin and admin row is already occupied. So you can see here we create a row over here. Then we check if the name of the email starts with admin. Then we're going to check to the user row and see if admin is found. If it is found, then we're going to return admin already registered. But in case it is not, then we assign this row to this admin. Else, then we're going to assign this row to user. So here we can add else statement here. So as soon as your email starts with admin, automatically you're going to assign admin to you. But it's going to check the admin has to register once. Okay, so that's the first registration by the administrator. The next one going to have admin already registered. Now here we check if the email is already in the registration form. So after assigning the row, we're going to check is your email already in the system. If yes, return this. If no, then we're going to add a registration by creating a new register model. We just grab the email, the name, and the password. And the password, we are going to encrypt this. So in the first or the previous video I made, we have to write a code to encrypt this. But here we are using that's a bcrypt.net to encrypt it. And now here the algorithm that it is using is SHA-384. Okay, so that's the algorithm that it is using. If you want to use a different algorithm, such as the 512, SHA-1, and etc., I've made a video on how to use this bcrypt.net, so I'll put in the description. You can just click on it to check more. Okay, so this is what we are doing over here. Now you can see from this that we are saving the row. So after adding this to the registration table, we are going to save row. So save the row assigned to the database. Now this is what we are doing. We are creating this user row dot add. Okay, so dot add, let's add this. This is supposed to authentication model. So we are referring to the model that the user row model that we created, and I will assign the row name to row and then the user ID to this entity.id. When we save it, you can append an entity to it so we can have access to the current data that has been assigned to the database, and we are going to retrieve the ID and assign to this model. So we add it and I will save. Return the ID of the user to the person, right? So maybe you can check up and now use this ID to display a message to the user or other stuff. All right, so this is for the registration. Now let's see for the login system. If I want to log in, what I'm going to do? So let's handle the login as well. So for this login, you can see I added some attribute over here, allow anonymous. It means whether you're authenticated or not, you can still have access to this. Okay, because these are public API that anybody can have access to. Now you can see it is coming in with this payload as login. Then check if his email exists. So we check if this email it is in our database. If it is not, then return. And let's also check, we have to also check if the password exists. Yeah, so we have this, that is we are using this, the bcrypt. So we are going to verify. So to write a whole bunch of code to verify, no, that's what we are doing. We're using this package and we verify, we provide the raw password, and this is encrypted or the hash password. And we can get this hash password from the data that we made here, the query that we made here. We can get the password in there. Aside from that, in case it is true, this is going to return a Boolean expression as either true or false. In case it is true, then we want to go into that way. In case it is false, then you can see we are returning null over here. Now, in case it is true, what is the next thing to do? We want to get that user's specific row, so we can use to create the token. So we get the rows table, we find the user, then you can just get the token. So generate token, we pass in the user email and then the row name. So these are the claims that we are using for this token. Just two claims, the email and the token. No, the email and the row name. And also after generating this token, we want to also generate a refresh token because they must go together. Now, if the user has already refresh token already, or if the user has created or logged in and has refresh token already, we make a search out of it in case it is there. Then you can see we are going to update it. So this is going to update. You can see we are assigning this field to the current one here. Then we save changes and also assign the expiry date. And also the same thing applies to this. You can see if it is not, it is now. Then we create a new, you can see we are adding token info table dot add new token info. Then we populate the variables in there, the properties in there, refresh token, user ID, and our token expiry. Here we are adding 1 minute, and then here we are adding seconds. Wow. So it's supposed to be the same. So let's make this as 1 minute. For this purpose, 1 minute to be okay. All right, so then we save changes and I return token and also return the refresh token. So when the user logs in successfully, it's going to return token, also the refresh token. And henceforth, you can just go ahead and now save this token and the refresh token into the client browser local storage. All right, so we have these two methods, generate token and also generate refresh token. Let's get them done. So in here, let's grab the tokens. So down here, let's see where the token is. Okay, so let's paste this here. Now from this refresh token, it's just one line of code. We are converting to be 64 string and generating random numbers of 64 bytes, as you can see from this, and this is going to return the token. That's a refresh token. Now to generate the token, you can see we are accepting an email and also the row name. We get the security key from the key that we specify in the appsession.json. Then we create a credentials by encrypting this key with this algorithm name, and also we provide our claims. Remember that we are providing two claims, username as an email and also the row name. And we formulate our token creation. So issuer, audience, claims, and everything. We add expiry date as for 10 seconds. So our token has to expire in 10 seconds. But I think this is, let's add, so here, add minutes, right? So let's say, let's add 1 minute. And now for this refresh token, let's add 2 minutes. Because here, the refresh token may stay longer. The raw token must stay shorter. Okay, so there's no instance whereby the token, the raw token will have a lifespan longer than the refresh token. No. Then let's see, so after that, it's going to return as a string. As you can see from here, there's a return type as a string. All right, now once you're done with this, we can create, and these are the login and the registration at the public API endpoint. So we can create private API endpoint. Now, this private API endpoint needs authentication before you can have access to. And we have even specified using the role-based method. So we can also assign, even not all authenticated users can have access to. The first one here, it is get new token. That is when a refresh token is being made. Here, getting a new token, and as you can see from this attribute, allow anonymous, everybody can have access to. So we check the incoming session here. This session has to come in with the token, also the refresh token. Although the token has expired, but we still need over here to get the claims from that token. So we get the token from the database and check if we have it over there. In case we have it, then generate new refresh token. If the token refresh token date has expired, then generate new token. So you can see we create a string refresh token. Then in case the token expiry date is lesser than today's date, then generate a new one. Okay. Then after doing that, generate a new token by extracting the claims from the old token. The old token can be found in the user session. So we are extracting the email and the rogue. Remember that when creating the token, we added only 2 claims. So we extract them here. Then we call this generate token, passing the claims that we have here to get up a new token as a new token here. Then update the refresh token in the database. So you can see from here that we want to get the user from the registration. Then based on the user, you want to get the token user from the token info. Then we want to update the token refresh token date and also the refresh token itself so that we keep track of all the tokens all the time. So here, user has to have one record of token, a refresh token, which keeps updating itself anytime a new token is generated or a new refresh token is generated. But normally you can actually keep them so that you can know the number of times the user has called that method. Okay. But for now, this is just a practical aspect too. You can also do this or do that. Anyone that you want, you can do it as well. Now, after that, then return a new token. So you can see token is equal to new token. Refresh token is equal to new refresh token. So this method is going to be called, which is going to extract claims from the token or token, which is dying or which is dead. Okay. Then use the claims to formulate a new token and now return to the user. All right. So aside from that, we also create this private API endpoint too. Now here, the role here must be an admin. If you're not admin, forget it. And here, if you're not user, you forget it. Here, we are returning the number of count the number of users that we have in the registration. So we are counting it. And now here, we are just returning the info. This can be done by the user, and it is accepting an email. Then make a query from the registration table, get the email information, and return. So this is what our API is going to do. So now let's work on the client section, and we're going to create a service with an interface and implementation for that. Okay, so we can just close this. We go to the solution, and now in here, we can just close the server. So now we are done with the server. Then let's work on the client section. But first of all, this is what we're going to do. We are going to create a folder in the client, and I'm going to name it as client services. And this folder is client services. We are going to create an interface and implementation class in here. So right click, add a new class, and I make sure you choose an interface. And now let's paste this. You want to have just 4 interface, 2 public method, and then 2 private method or protected methods. So this is what we have: registration account, async, login, async. These are public. Anybody can have access to without even an authentication header. Then for protected, you need an authentication header. And also you need a role to be assigned to you, either a user or an admin, to have access to this. Okay, we save this. Let's create a class, and this is going to be an implementation. So I'm going to grab this, then solution, right click on the same folder. This time around, we are going for a class, and it is client service. So within this client service, what we're doing first here is we're going to create a constructor with local storage and now token free HTTP client instantiated. So let's see. Now you can see here, we create a constructor here for client service. We add our iLocal storage service. Then we include this HTTP client over here. Now this HTTP client here, it is header free. It has no authorization header on top. So this token or this HTTP client here has no authorization header. Okay, so this is a free one. That's why I said it is token free HTTP client. Alright, so aside from this, let's create our public method which do not require any token. Now in doing so, it means we are going to use this HTTP client. So this is it. We log in async, we call this API, and that's our route here, authentication, then we log in. It's a post method, so we specify or we add the payload here, and now from the response, you can see it is coming in, which is coming out of our user session, so we have to handle that and return. And then also this register account here returning an object that is an integer or a string. So that's why we don't want to specify that, so we made an object to handle anything. Okay, that's for the public one. Now let's look at the protected ones. So the protected ones, we need to create a new HTTP client whereby we can have access to the token and now append the token to the header. Okay, so we can call. So from the protected method, which need our token, get user account, you can see from here that we are creating an instance of this secure client. Then within that client, this client here is coming in with an authorization header append to. Okay, we make a query or a call from this. Then we check if the status code here is not equal to unauthorized. Okay, then we want to return the results. As soon as it is unauthorized, it means that either one, the header or the token has expired. And in case the token has expired, then this is what you want to do. Jump to the next one, call in for get new token. And now this method, call this method itself again, store the response, and I return the response. This is a very simple thing. So there's going to, it's like a cyclic event. As soon as it is unauthorized, it's going to call this method, whereby this method is going to call the API, get a new token, and now append the token to the header and use that header to call this service again. So in such case, a new token will be appended. Then we make a call, we get a response, and I return. The same thing applies to this. You see, they are the same thing, and that's what we are doing. Okay, so where from this secure client? It's a very simple method that we created. Let's have a look here. So for secure client, let's first look at the general methods that we need, and that's where we can have access to the secured client as well. So I'm going to copy this, and in here, give it a space, and I'll paste it here. So these are general methods that they are going to be called often. So that's going to be called frequently. So you can see this is a get new token. And as you can see, we get a token from the local storage. And now we return if they are null. In case it is not, we post it to the API. Then here we are deserializing it. You know, from there, we want to serialize it in a one string format so we can store to the local storage. So as soon as we get from the local storage, we have to deserialize it into an object. So since we have to post an object to this API, we have to deserialize it to get an object. Okay. Then the response that is coming in here, we read it. And now we have to serialize it again. Then remove the old one from the local storage and now insert the current one. After that, call this method, secure client. Now this is secure client method. As soon as you get it called, it's going to also retrieve the data or the token from the local storage and now deserialize it and also extract the token and append it to the header as a bearer. Append it and now return this client. So as soon as you call this, it is returning this HTTP client with a header or authorization header added to that HTTP client header. Okay. Now this method is going to deserialize it, and also this method is going to serialize it. So you see all these methods, you can actually put them in one class, whereby you can just register them and now be using them. But I don't want to confuse you. Let's maintain this. Okay. Now, so we are set with this. Everything is set. So the next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to create a custom authentication state provider, and this provider going to be called frequently anytime you want to do page navigations or login or logout. Okay, so it checks if the user is authenticated or not. So we do that. Let's create a folder here. Add new folder. Let's give it a name as authentications. And now within that, we have to create, let's name it as custom authentication state provider. Very long, but it's meaningful. So custom authentication state provider. And now in here, we need to also create a constructor. So let's generate our constructor in. And now this class has to inherit from authentication state provider. So we put it over here. And you see we are injecting this iLocal storage. Now there's a method that we need to override that is known as get authentication state async. So let's override that method. And in doing so, we can have this method. So this is a method that we're overriding. And I can see from here, we get a token from the local storage. Now this token has been serialized. Okay. So when we have this token, this is what you are doing. In case it is null, then return anonymous. You see, we created anonymous here as a claim identity with no claim. So it means that as soon as we pass in this anonymous, user is not authenticated. So in case the storage, the token from the local storage is null too, it means user is not authenticated, then return this. But in case we find something, then since it is serialized, then go in there now and deserialize it. So we call this method deserialize user. This method has been used in the client service. That is why I said we could create one base class and I'll be using it. But don't worry, we're going to make a copy and paste and I'll put it over here. Then aside from that, we call this get claims from JWT. So the token that we have, we want to extract the claim so we can assign to this claims principal, okay, which has the claims identity. Okay, so first of all, we have to deserialize it. After deserializing, you're using the tuple. It means you're making an explicit outcomes, email and a row. That's what we are expecting from this claim method, passing this token. Then aside from that, call this authentication state and now passing this set claims principal. It's also a method that we need to do by providing the email and the row. So we're going to have the user authenticated. Let's have that method. So after creating this, the next one is we have to update the token anytime user logs in or logs out. So you can see from here, it is accepting user session. And now in here, we create a claims principal. And in case coming in here, in case this is null, then we want to remove it. So that is, if you pass in null to this object, it means user has now logged out, so remove it from the local storage. If not, then also get it from the set it to the local storage. So you see from here, set item async. We provide the key and that is the value. We serialize it and then we store it over there. We can get the claims from it. Then we also set a claim principal to this. At the end of the day, then we are going to notify this. As soon as you notify, you can see this claim principal going to handle with the email now and the row as the claims. Then it's going to refresh the application and now make the user authenticated access. Okay, so now we have this. So let's go in there and create this method. So these I call them general method. So the first one that we need to do is we are going to talk about the set claims. So it is going to set claims. It return the claims principal. We input email and then the row, and I can see we are setting it over here, and I return this claim principal. The type of order we are using is JWT Auth. You can just rename it to any name that you want. The next one that we are doing here is we want to get claims. So here we have to extract the JWT, decrypt it or decode it, and now extract the claims from it. So you can see from here, we decrypt the token, then we extract only the claim section, then we loop through it and now get the row and then the email, okay, from here. Then we return the email, then return the row as well. Okay. Then the last one here, it is the same method that we use in the client interface. And now within that, it is just decrypt and now serialize and now deserialize this. We've done this already. That's why I said you could have put this in one class, but don't worry, put it there and let's move on. Okay, so we are also done with this authentication state provider. The next thing that we're going to do here is we have to register the service, that is authentication state provider, and also the interface and the class that we created. you have to put them in the program.cs file. So within the client program.cs file, let's do that in there. So inside that, we first have to include the service. Let me just have all these. We first have to register this. Add Blazor local storage, you have to register that. We have to add the scope of this iClient service and also this client service. And we have to include this authentication state provider. Then we append our customer that we created. After that, add authorization core, okay, to this. Now this is saying, let's see. So iClient service, save this, control period. Okay, let's check it out. So we go to solution and iClient service for the interface. Public interface, you have that set. For the client service, this has to inherit from this iClient service. Okay, so that is set, and it's gonna, yeah, all set and done. The next thing that we're gonna do here is we are going to update the app.razor. So let's update that. And we have to use the cascading authentication state to cover it, to contain that. And that's what we're going to use for routing. So you have to check all the time, are you authenticated? If not, then we pass it to the right channel. Okay, so cascading authentication state, then we have to include it over here. All right, so after doing this, let's see what we need to do next is we are going to create our registration component. So registration component, and you're going to do that in the pages. Okay, so let's go to the pages. We create a registration component in there. We have our pages. Then we even have counter. So let's change it, registration component. And now in that, we want to use this. So we inject our HTTP client over here. And now even when you check, we are injecting this iClient service. We don't have to inject this because we're using the service. Okay, let's save this. Let's close this and open it again. Okay, so yeah, so we have this control period. Let's include the reference. And as you can see from this, we are creating just a simple form and with the name, email, password, and confirm password, and I register. So as soon as you register, you click on the button. We have to call the service and I pass in this model and I return the results to the user. You can see it's very simple, isn't it? We inject this IGS runtime, then we invoke it to display an alert to the user. Now let's work on the login. So the login is also a very simple one that we are going to create. So inside the pages folder, we are also going to, let's change this fetch data to the login. And now within this login, we also have to use this. Let's save this, close this up, then open it again so we can have the colored one. Okay, now there's no HTTP client, so let's remove it. Then control period, let's include the namespace for the client service. Then authentication state 2, let's include the namespace as well. All right, so we have it set, and this is the model as login model. And now within that, when this login is clicked, we call this service. And as soon as we call this service and it returns the object of user session, you will see here we are calling the method in the authentication state provider that we created. That's a customized one. Then we call the update or state, we pass in this object. So this object here, it is a user session. As soon as it gets to that the method, is going to initialize it and now insert it into or set it to the local storage. And I will navigate to the home page and I refresh the app. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Now let's go to the main layout. Now inside this main layout, we are going to enable the logout and create a logout function. So go to the shed and our main layout. In here, let's paste this here. So we include the namespace of this. I normally have to close this up, then reopen it. All right, so you can see from here that we have the same authentication state. We have to also include the namespace over here. Now this is an authorized view. So if you're authenticated, then display your name, and now have a button or have an icon known as a logout. In case you are not, then display hello guest. Okay, if you click on the logout here, then you want to call this method, update the method here and pass in null. The time you pass in null here, it goes to the method, and now as soon as it is null, it's going to remove it from the local storage and now return anonymous. So you're going to remove Auth from the local storage. Okay, now let's see if this, let's close this and reopen it again and check it out if it is what we want. Okay, so we need to add this namespace so we can have access to this. All right, now let's see. So let's also go to this nav layout, and now within the nav layout, let's make some small changes in there. So solution, then this nav layout, we are going to make some changes in here, just that we are using this authorized view to cover the page. So if you are not authorized, you can see you want to see register and now login. If you are authorized, then see this. If you are authorized, display app user, right? And this is going to be done by the administrator. So administrator can see this. My info going to be seen by user. Click on this, make a call here. So we are making a service, call a service here, get user count. And now here to get info, we need to call a service and I'll pass in the name, the email. So in doing so, we have to use this cascading parameter, which from the auth state, and then we can have access to the user context. Then we can fish out the name from this identity. We call this service, and I pass in the get my info, which requires email over in there. All right, so that is what we need to do so far. Now we're going to build this project and I'll run it and test it out over there and see if everything is working. Then we say, hooray, we are done with that project. So let's build it and see. So save everything. And Solution Explorer, right click. Now let's build solution. All right, so you can see that it is successfully built. Now let's run this application and I'll test it out and see. All right, so you can see that it is now opening. Now let's see, we set our token to be 1 minute for the expiry date. So let's register an account in here. Let's put in, there's a netcode. And with this, I'm going to say admin@gmail.com. Then the password, let's see, so click on register. Okay, so nothing happens. Let's click and see. Okay, so nothing still happens. Let's check our database and see if that has been saved. So SQL Server and database. The name is demo.db. So tables. Now let's open the registration table and see. So view data. Let's open the token. Also view data, and let's check it out for the rows too. View data. Okay, so for the token, nothing happened, and registration, nothing happened. All right, so let's see. To register. Okay, so nothing happened. Now let's check it up and see what the issue is. So when you press on F12 and I'll check, let's see the route here. From this register, the route here, it is an API authentication and register. So let's check and see. So you can see we have the authentication for the controller name, but there's no API here. So let's add the API. All right, so let's refresh this again. Okay, so let's do the registration again. Let's see netcode 123. Click on register. And now let's wait for the response. All right, so you can see we have 1. Now, when we check the database, user role, refresh it. Role going to be assigned as an admin since we had an admin start. And token info, no nothing, because you can see no token. Now when you check the registration, we have the information over here with the password encrypted nicely and then our email, as you can see. Now let's go in there and log in. So let's try to log in with the same information. Now with email address, you pass the email address and a password 123. Click on login, and now let's wait. So you can see we are logged in. As you can see, you can see an app user, and now here we can see an admin at email.com. So we can just log out here. You can see we are back. Let's create another account, and let's use test, and let's use red@gmail. So red@gmail.com. So password, the same password. Now click on register. You must have ID 2. Then let's click on login. So red, then 1 2 3. Login, and we see we are now. So you see user can have my information. Admin can see get user count, right? And we can just log in. So when you check the database table 2, we have the same information. And when you check the row, now you can see we have an admin set. And now this is let's say user. Let's try to create next admin. So let's sign this out, and now it's register. Let's see. So this is TS. Okay, the same test. By this time round, it is an admin@gmail, right? So let's even admin this, and let's see the password. So 123. 123. So register, and I thought you admin already registered, so we can use that. Okay, so now let's log in with the red one, this as a user. So 123. Click on login, and now we're in here. So our token is now activated, and now we have 1 minute. I have a watch here. So let's see. Now let's go to, let's make it in this form. Okay, now when you click on my information, you can see we have my information here. Let's right click and now go to inspect element, and now where you have this network tab, click on this. Then in here, click on my info. The call is made, and you can see from this call we have the token over here. That's a bearer token. When you go to the application, so when you go to this application and go to local, and now you can see we have this token. When you copy this token, and now you open Notepad. So let's see if I have Notepad. Now with this Notepad, and you paste this here, you can see we have the token here. This is a refresh token. The token ends with the DE. You can see it's over here. So it ends with DE. Now when you check this token from the header, network tab, you see it ends with DE. So that is it. Okay. Now don't save. Let's wait for the 1 minute to be up. Then we click on it to see if the refresh token is going to work. As soon as the state becomes unauthorized, a new call will be initialized, and we can now generate a new token for us. Okay, so now let's try with a new request. And now if I click on this, yeah. So you have it. You can see we have the response over here. And I can see here, we had this red. And now this red line is saying it is 401, meaning it is unauthorized. As soon as you're unauthorized, what we are doing here is we call this method to get a new token. And as you can see, there is a new token that we have. And now with this new token, we append it to the header. And I can see we can have a new token here that ends with XY-1. When you check the previous one, you can see it is different from this. All right, so that is it. That is a way out to create a refresh token. There are so many ways of doing that. This is just one. Another one too is we can also create a custom HTTP handler that can be used to intercept all requests and responses. Then we can append or check in case it is unauthorized. Then we also make a call. It's also there. So there's one. Maybe next time we're going to have time to also go through the other one as well, and maybe similar ones too. Thank you so much. If you think this video is helpful to you, please give thumbs up, because when you do that, it actually helps the channel a lot. Thank you so much. In the description, and I'll leave a link to the GitHub so you can just clone the source code. Thank you and take care of yourself. And I'm going to catch you up in the next video.